What's going on, guys? How you doing? It's your boy Super Simi here. Today, I wanted to talk about my Boston qualifying experience. Now, it's interesting because qualifying for the Boston Marathon is something that a lot of people aspire to do. It is a very hard challenge, and I took it up at a very young age. I actually started training for Boston when I was 20 years old, and I knew it was going to be ambitious. I knew it was going to be hard. I knew it was going to be really, really, really difficult. However, I looked at a few things to get me ready for it. I looked at what my times were for the 5K, the 10 mile race, the half marathon, and I looked at those times to make sure that I knew what I was doing, right? So what I did is, I first started off in high school track. I actually did the 800 meters, and I knew my speed was good, right? I think my fastest time was a 2 minute, 2 second, 800 meters, which honestly is pretty good. It's not that bad. And from then on, I started building up more endurance. I came to college and I started doing less speed workouts and more just general running. It was great that I had a running club where I was, and I was able to, clock the miles on a weekly basis. But when I started seriously training for the Boston Marathon, I went from usually like 20 to 30 miles a week to like 40 to 50, and then started ramping up to 80 to 90 at the end of my qualifying experience. It was this year, 2025, that I actually started, really going, into the, my marathon training and, my nutrition. And I kind of wanted to explain a bit about that. Yeah, this year, this was actually my first year doing marathons. I started doing marathons this March. My first marathon was a Shamrock Marathon. I think it went really well. There was a lot of things that I wanted to fix from the race, but overall, I was really happy with the result. I was happy with my 3 hour 14-minute time, and it taught me about what a marathon is. There are times when you're running the race and you feel great, and maybe when it gets to the latter miles, for me it was mile 17 to around 20, you start losing energy. You start losing a lot of the confidence that you built up towards that race. And it taught me about not just training, but also mental fortitude and being able to train the mind while I'm training the body. So taking my experiences from that race, I trained for my next marathon, which was the Foot Traffic Flat Marathon in Portland. And what I learned is that I actually need to get better at, building, consistent mileage. Because for the Shamrock Marathon, which was in March, I only did around 50 to 60. But this time, I really challenged myself to start trying to do more. And that consisted of doing around 80 to 90 miles a week, which was crazy, which was really, really hard. And it was a lot on my plate. I was actually working a 40-hour job then. I was working from 8 to 4, but I made it work. I actually would wake up around 4 a.m. and then I would get straight to the gym. I started doing the treadmill because it was hot and I didn't want to run in that heat. So I would do that, and I was getting in around 14 miles, 13 miles a day, just of general running. And that helped. That helped both physically and helped both mentally. It showed that I could do it, right? If I could do a lot of these, hard mileage weeks, I knew that I would be set up for this race. I knew I'd be set up for this marathon. And it definitely worked out. I flew to Portland with some confidence, and I got to the starting line, and I was ready. Usually I'm nervous. I'm like, oh my God, do I have the things that I need? But this time I felt ready. And when it got to mile 17, mile 20, where I usually, falter, this is where I was able to have the confidence I needed to get to the finish line. Yes, I had cramps. Yes, it hurt. Yes, there was pain. But I made it through. And it really showed me, hey, we could do it. Now that day, it was not the time I qualified for, right? I think my time was actually 2 hours, 55 minutes, and 10 seconds. 10 seconds off the Boston qualifying time. Now, while it sucked at first, I knew, you know what? If I clocked a 19-minute PR, I went from 3 hours and 14 minutes from March to 2 hours, 55 minutes in September. I knew, I'm so close, right? The deadline for Boston was actually September 12th, and I knew that it was gonna take some crazy dedication and focus and discipline to get that time. So I signed up for a race, the Erie Marathon, September 7th, and I had 2 months, only 2 months, to do a 6-minute PR. It was a lot to ask, but this is where I had to lock in on my nutrition. And I started adding speed workouts, right? So I had started adding speed workouts to my training. I went from just endurance to a lot of speed training. And for this, I started going to different run clubs within the DC area. And I started, really getting into the track training. And I think some of my best training was when I did a track workout, either from, like two times 1 mile, then going down to 3 times 800, then going down from there to 6 times 200. It was really helping me gain more and more confidence in my speed because I needed that to finish on race hard. And then I think the crowning jewel of my 2-month training for the Erie Marathon was when I did the South Lakes 10K. Now the South Lakes 10K was one of my greatest races. I actually PR'd in my 10K that day, which was amazing. But not only that, I felt comfortable, speeding it up for longer distances. That day, although the course was hilly, I was clocking in around a 5-minute 48-second per mile pace, and I didn't feel dead at the end of it. I felt really, really, really happy because I was actually competing with a high schooler there. I was actually ready to throw in the towel around mile 2, but there was this high schooler that was, trailing with me, and he was right on my tail. And I was like, yo, what's going on? And I was about to give up. I was all right, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. But then his dad came, and he's like, bro, pace with him. And I was like, okay, this is my time. This is my moment. So I kept pacing with him. I was like, I'm not going to give up now. Come on, man. Get up. Go, go, go. And I found my spark. I found something that ignited something on the inside. I was like, wait, I can do this. So I put a smile on my face. I just kept going. And I was able to maintain my pace and finish with a really good time. I mean, that showed me, okay, there's something in me that can definitely, be reignited for my Erie Marathon. And that same day, I actually ran 15 more miles because I was like, 10K? Come on, this is marathon training. You gotta put more miles to that. So I actually did 23 miles that day. And that was 2 weeks before my race. So that was a perfect time for me to taper afterwards. Then I started tapering, and that's when I was like, okay. I was like, can I do it? Can I not do it? Tapering always shows what's in the tank and what's not in the tank. So I just kind of had to be like, okay, just give it some grace. Okay, now this was when the Erie Marathon time was coming. So I drove 7 hours to the Erie Marathon. Longest drive of my life. I've never driven that long, by the way. And I got to my Airbnb, set my stuff down, and then got ready to run the race. Now, okay, this might have been the most perfect conditions I could have asked for. The day of the race, I was looking outside. It was pouring rain. And I was like, wait a minute, am I screwed? But no, I looked at my phone, saw the weather app, and was like, okay, the rain's going to end an hour before the race it starts, right? And I was like, okay, things are going to be good. I got cool conditions, 50-degree weather, and I was feeling good physically and mentally. I got to the starting line. Before the race started, I talked with some of the boys there. I was like, hey guys, what are you trying to hit? I'm trying to hit 250. Because I knew that the Boston qualifying time, the cutoff, was going to be around 250, right? And I found a group of people who were like, okay, we're running this time. And I was like, I made sure to stick with them. The race started, and I was feeling good. I was feeling great. I felt calm. I felt collected. I felt that I was ready to, take this marathon head on. And then something happened. I actually started making a mental image for myself. Not only was I running the race, I created an image for myself. And I was like, okay, what's going on here, right? I was like, this is a marathon. Usually I'm scared of marathons. But this time I was like, I'm not just running this. I'm hunting this marathon down. So I started hunting this marathon down, right? I created my image that this marathon was my prey. And I was the hunter. Yeah, I was the hunter for this marathon. And just like any good hunter would do, I tried not to, reveal my presence too early. You don't want to scare the prey, I, made sure my heart rate was calm. I made sure that it was advancing, but not advancing too much that I was burning out, right? I just keep going consistently, step by step, mile by mile, getting closer to my goal. At that time, the goal was mile 20, because I was like, okay, let me just get to mile 20. And if I started creating a chain in my head, a chain that was pulling me towards my prey. You can't run away from me. You can't get me. You can't run away from me. I gotcha. And it was working for me. I kept the mileage up. I kept the pace up. I was averaging around a 6-minute, 20-second per mile pace. I was feeling great. And then mile 3 happened. One of my gels dropped from my marathon shorts. And I was like, split second, I was like, okay, what do I do? Ran back, got it, and kept going. Now that could have disrupted my mental imagery. That could have disrupted my focus. But no, I added to it. I was like, you know what? Something bad happened. But you know what? That's what's going to make me stronger. So I just kept going. And then things really started picking up at mile 15. Mile 15 to mile 20 was actually when I had my fastest splits, right? And I just knew I was so close. Like, keep in mind, my prey was mile 20. So I was like, 5 more miles, brother. I got you. You can't run away from me. So I was getting closer and closer and closer and closer. And I was like, I'm about to get you. So I got mile 20. And when I got mile 20, I was like, wait, it's just 6 more miles? What's 6 more miles? Let's go. Keep it up. So I just kept going. And those last 6 miles, man, I knew I had it. I had it in the bag. I was like, let's just keep going. Yes, I was getting tired. Yes, I was starting to slow a bit down, but I knew I had it. And I just kept going. And then I got to mile 24. And then at mile 24, I said, just lock in. 2 more miles, Simeon. Keep it going. And then that's when I realized, okay, we've done it. Last mile, mile 25, I was happy. I was like, we do it. We can do it. Just a bit more, just a bit more, just a bit more. Once I saw the finish line, I knew it was a wrap. I was like, yes, let's go. So, and that was how I qualified for Boston, Moral of the story, just a lot of consistency. Honestly, just being able to put yourself in that position to rise up to the challenge. I didn't know that day that I was going to be able to do it. I still have doubts. I didn't know how my fitness was. Those 2 months, I actually only did around like 60 miles per week, probably averaging around 50 miles to be honest. So I didn't know where I was, and I'm just really glad with how everything went. So yeah, that was pretty much my Boston Marathon qualifying experience. If you guys have any questions about like any more specific things that I did, I really, I wouldn't mind to talk about it. There's one last thing that I'd like to add though is that the days leading up to my Erie Marathon experience, I did make sure to drink a lot of water. I did make sure to eat a lot of food. Like I had a total Italian course of food before the day before my race, and I just made sure I have positive thoughts. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. I'm excited to create more content in the future, and hope you guys have a wonderful day. Peace out.